This is Gray, and I'm going through the book of Psalms. Today I'm in chapter 31, a psalm written by David, and it starts with, "O Lord, I have come to you for protection. Don't let me be disgraced." And that tells you what the whole psalm is about. David crying out to God for protection. He calls God his rock and his fortress. Now, if you're very familiar with the life of David, you knew that he was in he had been persecuted for a long time by Saul, who was the king of Israel. But even after he was king, he met so many obstacles in his life, including when his son Absalom rose up against him. And that's why there's so many verses, there's so many chapters of David crying out to God. What gives me comfort is that if a man like David went through what he did, I probably should also expect to go through that, but it's comforting to see how David managed to handle his situations, crying out to God at all times. He was not ashamed to come before the throne of God and to cry out. And this is what we see here. So the whole chapter is him, well, not the whole chapter, most of the chapter is him crying out. From verse 9, it starts describing how he feels. He says, "Have mercy for me, for I am in distress. Tears blur my eyes, my body and soul and withering away. I'm dying from grief." He says, "Surrounded by enemies, even my friends and my neighbors don't want to come near me. I am ignored as if I were dead." But here's the thing I love about David, and I think that's something that we also ought to learn in life. Because we've agreed that we'll always come into problems. Problems are always there. We will have them. Some bigger, so much, and insurmountable problems that we will encounter. But we should always cry out to God openly and frankly. But in our crying, let's just not stay there. Let's come to our verse 14. Let's come to our but moment. What do I mean? If you've been following me all this time, you see that when David cried out, he would always come to a point where he stops crying out and starts talking about who God is and how God is going to rescue him and how God is always faithful and he'll always be there, even before he says it. And that's it. So here it's verse 14. He cries all of that. He comes and says, "But I am trusting you, O Lord, saying you are my God." And I just pray that you have the courage and the strength that in whatever you're going through, in your crying to God, you get to the point you say, "But God is going to rescue me because this is who God is." Verse 19, he says, "How great is the goodness you have stored up for those who fear you. You lavish it on those who come to you for protection." It's saying that I know that you have a special place for those who fear you and trust in you. You have this goodness that is stored up. Basically saying that we should learn to wait on God, because if we fear him and if we are trusting him, we should just know without a shadow of a doubt that he has something that is stored up for us that he will give us. If you had followed me on the previous video on chapter 30, we talked about weeping may endure for the night, but joy comes in the morning. This is the same thing. Having hope in God that he will always come through for you. Something I just want to highlight here before we finish is in verse 5. He says, "I entrust my spirit into your hand." Believe it or not, these are the same words that Jesus said on his cross. "Into your hands I commit my soul." Yeah, "Into your hands I commit my soul." And then he died. That's Luke 23 verse 46. But then you also look at the situation where he was surrounded. David talks about being surrounded by his enemies and then all his friends running away. That's exactly what happened to Jesus. I just wanted to highlight that because it's very, very similar. But here's how this chapter ends. Verse 23 and 24 says, "Love the Lord, all you godly ones, for the Lord protects those who are loyal to him. But he punishes the arrogant." Let's not leave that out. If you're arrogant, then God's on you. But 24 says, "So be strong and courageous, all you hope in the Lord." In other words, be strong and courageous and wait on the Lord. In our troubles, let us wait on the Lord. In our troubles, let us continue to trust in him. Call on him and know that verse 19 is true for you, that he stores up great goodness for those who are loyal to him, those who trust him for protection. God bless you.